Hey, everybody. Matthew Eford here, your podcast host. I'm so excited to be coming to you wherever you find yourself this morning. We've got thousands of you across almost 20 countries now. It's amazing to see what the Lord has done in taking this message of living life on purpose in your faith, in your family, and in your business ventures. With that said, our Business Lighting Pros has been sponsoring this podcast since the beginning and will continue to moving forward as a way to communicate a message of hope and purpose throughout the world. But we're also strategically bringing on board some partners that we feel are a good partner for the community, that they are people that are living life of purpose, that they are folks that are wanting to connect with our audience to promote their business, their brand, their resources. So you're going to be seeing that as we go forward. I just wanted to jump on here and give you a little bit of a short intro. The first one we have is my friend Josh Latimer, and I'm so excited for you to hear from him. We have a great episode. His episode's actually coming up right after this promotion. So here's my friend Josh talking a little bit about a resource he's got for free for you.
Hey, if you're a small business owner looking to make more profit, have more influence, spend more time with your family, and just escape the struggle bus that maybe your business feels like, one of the ways that I can help is through a resource called 60 Profit Producing Ideas. These are from my core framework called FRAP. And the long story short of it is there's a whole bunch of ways to make more profit with any business without spending any money, just using your brain. Happy to give that resource to you for free. If it helps, just go to warplan.com/60. That's warplan.com/60.
Okay, business owners, take out your pen and paper, take a minute, listen to my new friend, Josh Latimer. Wow. What incredible content you're going to get out of this conversation. It will change your business. You will go back and listen to this a year from now and be so excited that you heard this content and that you put it into action. Here's my friend Josh. Welcome to Market Mavericks. I'm Matthew Eford. Join me as I speak with leaders who are redefining industries in every corner of the market. From startups to established businesses, we'll uncover the strategies, challenges, and insights that drive success. Get ready to be inspired by the Mavericks who are shaping the future of business. Welcome, everybody, to Market Mavericks. I'm your host, Matthew Eford, and I'm so excited for you to hear from my new friend, Josh Latimer. He and I met at a conference recently, and for those of you, we're so excited to be 16 countries now, tens of thousands and thousands of listeners. You're so in for a treat with my friend Josh. Josh, those who may not know you, if you're coming on, introduce yourself. I don't want to get the big question of who is Josh, but tell us a little bit about your business experience.
First of all, I'm a hopeless romantic who enjoys long walks on the beach after sunset. No, I'm just kidding. I'm probably not that. I got good dad jokes though, and by having a good dad joke, it means that they're not funny at all.
That's right.
Five kids, built and sold 4 companies, married my high school sweetheart. She was a cheerleader. I played football in high school. We were terrible at football, but she cheered for me anyway. And
she's very kind.
You have no idea, Matthew. I'm married so far up, I need a ladder. But no, entrepreneurship, kingdom, Jesus, like marketing. I don't know. I'm just a weird bag, but love talking to people like you, and hopefully we can help make people some more money or get them inspired to take the next step.
Well, I love that. So let's talk about the buying and selling of businesses. So you've sold 4 businesses now. Take us back to your first one. Let's start there, and then let's talk about each one. That's a goal of a lot of our business owners, right? They want an exit. They want either a massive exit or they want an exit to be able to go to the next level and get into a different industry or buy another business. Talk us back. What was the first business you sold, and maybe what's 1 or 2 things you learned from it?
Sure. Well, when we got married, we were 20 years old, and I delivered pizza for a living, I actually loved that job. It was awesome. You know, my mom always says, don't despise small beginnings. So we lived in a trailer park. I delivered pizzas. We were 20 years old, and I got this job cleaning windows, which up until that point, I didn't know was like a thing. You know, I'm like, why would someone give you money to wipe dirt off of glass? Immediately gets more dirt on the glass. But anyway, it's a whole thing. So I worked for this guy for like 6 months and kind of understood that this was an industry. Well, then we started our own company and we made dozens of dollars. It was pretty magical.
Just to clarify, everybody, he said dozens of dollars. Yeah.
Yeah. It was, you know, that's the thing about like an orphan mindset or poverty programming. I didn't know I was thinking small. I mean,
Sure.
compared to what, to me, I was living the dream because I was making more money than I made delivering pizza.
Sure.
I made about $500 a week delivering pizza. And so when I started my window cleaning business, and it was like residentially focused. So I'd like knock
Okay.
on doors and be like, "Hi, I'm Josh. Can I give you a quote to clean your window?" And it's so crazy. But I sat down in my trailer and I was trying to figure out, how do I make $500 a week doing this? And I'm like, if I can get, four customers that each pay $125. And I was like stressing and like, with a little luck on a full moon on the second Tuesday, if I time things correct and the quantum mechanics and the
Yeah.
entanglement atoms work perfectly, maybe I could get four customers to pay me $125 each. And that was what I did, right? So it was awesome. It was awesome. Now I didn't turn that into like what I would consider a real business until a few years later, because I didn't take it that serious yet. But it turned out to be a real business. We scaled that to almost 200,000 a month, squeegeeing dirt off glass. We had a team, we had an office, like we had a culture, we had all these things, and then ended up selling it to a small private equity. God, it's been like over 10 years ago now.
Wow. That's fantastic. And so was your intention as you started scaling, right? You obviously learned a lot along the way, and I want to get there in just a second. But was your mentality to exit that way, or did you just want to clean windows for the rest of your life?
I think once I understood that this is a legitimate opportunity, at first I just looked at it as a pizza replacement income. And then through a
Sure.
series of different things that happened, and books I read and people I met, I realized, wait a second, like even this silly business like this, like I have the earning potential of a professional athlete because I'm squeegeeing dirt off of a glass. And
Sure.
that's like legitimate. Once I realized that, I knew pretty quickly from there that it wasn't my forever business, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like my sole passion thing, but it was a really good training wheels business because you learn so much with any kind of small business. How do you hire and how do you fire and how do you train and how do you retain? How do you sell? How do you market? How do you position things? What's a profit and loss statement? What's a balance sheet? Like, well, how do numbers work? So you're learning all these fundamental skills that you can actually transfer into other vehicles, other
Yeah.
business opportunities in the future. So I kind of viewed it like that. It was a God thing when I sold because my business wasn't even listed for sale. We were kind of a small company, really, to sell to private equity, which sounds really fancy.
Sure.
But it just worked out. Like some guy called me, like the Lord told us to move to Costa Rica. And I'm like, okay, did I eat bad pizza? Did God really tell that to me? That doesn't sound right. I thought Costa Rica was an island. I don't like the heat. I don't like bugs. And Costa Rica is like the heat bug capital of
Yeah.
everything. And I'm like, plus I had this company, we had a house and we had kids. And I'm like, that what? Well, we sold our house virtually instantly. We sold our business even though it wasn't listed for sale. And like all these things lined up with almost no effort. So I'm like, okay, message received, right? It
Yeah. I love that.
was just a crazy thing.
So when you go into and you start your second business, so you go from that, you learn squeegeeing dirt off windows can be profitable. You're able to provide a service that somebody's willing to pay for, and they don't want to do the work themselves, even though they can do it themselves. They just don't want to. What's something that you took into your second business? What's a key thing? You shared a lot of understand your numbers, the training wheels of business. But do you remember anything specifically that you brought into that second business that was kind of a game changing? This really shortened my revenue ramp curve because I knew this.
Yep, I got the perfect answer. Here's what it is. It's that everything is marketing and marketing is everything.
Yeah,
Now, don't think that you know what I mean just because you've heard the word marketing before, because I'm not talking about advertising. What I realized was literally all of the success in business revolves around this idea of understanding that choreographed communication is a superpower when it comes to employees, when it comes to culture, when it comes to sales, profit, marketing, growth, when it comes to personal development. I mean, technically speaking, the way that you talk to yourself every day when you get up out of bed is a form of marketing. You're marketing to yourself. The way that you answer a phone, the voice inflection, the pacing, the mirroring, the tonality, like every little nuance inside of any business can be upgraded by this type of thinking. It's like, how, it's not do you answer the phone, it's how do you answer the phone. It's
Yeah.
not do you sell stuff. It's yeah, but how? Like, how's it choreographed? Like, what do you anchor people? Is there some sort of seeding that's happening? There's like all these principles you can learn that just change everything. I mean, parenting, I have 5 kids. Parenting is marketing. If I tell my youngest daughter, Judah, stop it. That's level one communication.
Okay.
If I grab Judah's hand and I walk her over into the other room, and then I get down on one knee on her level and I put my hands on her shoulders gently, and I say, Judah, I need you to look at dad. Thank you, Judah. I need you to stop doing that, Judah. That's like level 5 communication. Now,
Sure.
the untrained eye, both scenarios are the same, but they're not the same. And so in a business, that stuff's happening all the time. So if you want to make more money, raise your average ticket, increase the frequency in which people buy from you, if you want to build better relationships, network better, you have to understand that marketing is everything and everything is marketing.
So a small business owner hears that and they're saying, Josh, I got you. I hear you on that. The one thing specifically I want to touch on, you talked about anchoring in your sales process. Give us some insight into what that means.
Sure. Well, let's say that I don't know, do you want to give me an example business? Say you're a carpet cleaner from Wichita or something.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So if you have a service, it doesn't matter, but we'll use that as an example. What's happening is the local person that's looking for carpet cleaning gets into a certain state. They're triggered. Maybe the
Okay.
dog puked on the carpet, or they remembered they have that party next Thursday and they start freaking out. So they initiate this process. They're in a state where they're like, I need to solve carpet cleaning problem, right? So they go on Google or something and they call the first company and they get a price. And they call the second company and they get a price. And they call a third company and they get a price. And typically what happens is all three of those interactions are more or less the same. They probably didn't even answer their phone in the first in the first place, but even if they did,
Sure.
they might answer the phone like hello, right? Or thanks for calling Bob's. And so that's fine. There's nothing criminal about that. The problem is that you're not anchoring people to a high level of perceived value.
Okay.
Warren Buffett famously says there's no competitive advantage in being the second most expensive.
That's
So,
a great point.
like, it's okay if you want to be the Dollar General. Like, there's a business model there. You better have a lot of capital, but you can make money. Walmart has a 1 to 1.5% net profit. Okay. They do trillions in like revenue, but small business owners can't play by that game. So you're probably not rich enough to even be the Dollar General. So what do? You need to be the premium, top shelf, white glove, luxury, more expensive premium service provider. So anchoring is one ingredient in a bunch of ingredients. And that answers this question: how do we make it obvious that we are very different than everybody else similar to us? And so on that phone call, how do we create separation and contrast, right? Do we have a script? Is there energy? Do you have the person answering the phone stand up when they answer the phone? This might sound really silly, but it's not.
Sure.
You can build real generational wealth with a simple business like a carpet cleaner from Wichita. For real. This isn't fake. You don't have to be a Harvard MBA. You don't have to be a genius, but you got to understand choreography. So anyway, when you're on that phone call with that person, thank you for calling ABC Carpet Cleaning. We're having a great day. Hope you are too. How can I help you? Okay, simple. Yeah, I need to get a quote for carpet cleaning. Oh, perfect. Are you a current customer of ours, or will this be your first time using us? That's an assumptive question. Oh, this will be my first time. By the way, that question is like, have you already given us money, or are you about to
Yeah.
give
Are
us
you about to? Yeah.
money? And then from there, it's like, oh, perfect. How about this? How about I give you our 15-second kind of little elevator spiel on why we're different? Because we are a weird carpet cleaning company. Is that okay? Perfect. So first of all, Mrs. Jones, we provide a very high level of service. We're not for everybody, but all of our technicians are paid above market rate. It's a living wage. This is a career for them, not a job. Their kids go to school with your kids. They're background checked. They're non-smoking, and they're gigantic nerds when it comes to cleaning. We do a really, really good job, and we're super responsive. We try to aim for that 1950s customer service. So with all that being said, let me get you all the information you need. What's the address that you're calling about? All right. So that right there, it's created so much contrast compared to the first two companies that they called, right? You
Sure.
can see, right? And then anchoring really in its simple level is, how do we make them scared of the price so that they're pleasantly surprised you're only $300 more than the other company? Like
Okay.
that's kind of the goal, right? So if
Sure.
company A says it's $400 and company B says it's 410, and then going through this conversation with you, they're thinking, oh gosh, this is going to be $800. And actually, luckily for you, with our new customer same as cash voucher, it's only 575, right? If that happens, no one can really compete with you. And your competition, not understanding any of these principles, will lose the job. And it breaks my heart because those first two companies, what they do when they keep losing jobs to people like me is they lower their price
Yeah.
even more,
Yeah.
which makes it worse, right? The goal isn't,
Race to the bottom.
well, a lot of small businesses run nonprofits on accident.
You live by price, you die by price.
Yeah. And like even on an airplane, I flew into Dallas last night. They tell you every flight, if there's an event of an emergency, an oxygen mask will drop from the ceiling. And, you're supposed to put it on yourself first before you even put it on your children, right? Because how are we going to change the world? How are we going to help other people if we can't even create enough profit to buy, the crunchy peanut butter instead of regular,
Yeah.
like level one is like make profit. Level two is make more profit than you even need. Level three is make more than that. Then you can start really doing things. You can invest in your company. You can pay your team more. You can build orphanages in Malawi. You can do anything,
Sure.
but it starts with understanding these things.
So a business owner sitting there, they're listening to this, myself included, right? And I appreciate you being willing to share kind of some of your formula. What do they look through when they look through all of their marketing collateral, when they look through their SOPs, their standard operating procedures? Take us kind of step by step through that, if you don't mind. The the first thing, answer the phone. Obviously, we got to answer the phone. But what's next? What is a business owner that's listening to this saying, "Hey, Josh, I've got my folks in the office. They're trained. They've got a script. We're trying to create value. Now what?"
Well, let's go back to first principles a little bit. So there's five core parts to every single business.
Okay.
And this is really important to understand. It helps you simplify what problem you're trying to solve and what could be broken in your business in the first place. Like the first thing is lead generation. So like if you don't have a semi-reliable way to go force leads into your business, like if you can't control call volume, deal flow, there's the other four don't matter. Like we got to solve that one thing first, right? So if assuming you have leads coming in, then
So
like
let me stop us right there. So okay,
Mhm.
so lead generation. Obviously, every business needs leads. Exactly what you said. That's the first. Talk us through that. What does a business owner need to be doing? They've been putting Facebook ads out there. They may be doing a little bit on social media. They may have some yard signs that they toss out. They may have done something crazy and done a direct mail campaign. It's just more of a shotgun approach. Let's just spray and pray. Talk us through what does it look like to be more strategic with lead generation?
Okay, so let's do that. Let's go there because this is a deep subject, but let's go there, right? Let's
I love
add
it.
value.
Let's do
Let's
it.
change someone's life. But let me list out the five first
Sure.
so that they're not
And we can circle back.
cliffhanging and
Yeah, yeah.
stress. But we have lead generation. After that, you have what's called lead nurture. Now, this depends on the type of business. If you run a taco truck, there's not very much of a nurture process, right? It
Sure.
might be building rapport for 30 seconds and then like, okay, fine, I'll buy a taco, right? But there's some sort of like staying top of mind and like walking them through something. The third one is sales. Like sales. Most small business owners aren't that bad at sales. Like they're okay at sales. The fourth one they're really good at, which is delivery. This is when you do the thing that you promised. It's when whatever, you squeegee the dirt on the glass or dig the hole for the retaining wall or whatever. People are good at this, right? They're just bad at lead gen, lead nurture, a little weak at sales. And then the last one that's huge that can transform your entire business literally is ascension. So step number five or part number five is ascension, meaning going up. Like, how do we make our customers worth more money? Dan Kennedy is a famous marketer, and he says, don't change your product or your service, change your customer, right? Another thing he says is the goal isn't to make advertising less expensive, it's to make your customer more valuable. You know,
I
most
love that.
well, most people are trying to figure out like how do I pay Mark Zuckerberg less money? I totally get it. I think he's going to be okay. He doesn't necessarily need more of our money. But that's the wrong question. You see, the biggest companies in the world are figuring out how to make their customer worth more. So we can
Okay.
talk about all of these things, but back to lead gen. There's a certain amount of leads that you're already going to get if you've been in business because you exist and you're a good person and people like you, right? So we'll call that your base of business. If you have a really small company, let's say that last year you did, $1 million in revenue and you've been in business for 20 years. And now this year you get motivated. You listen to Matthew on the podcast. You're like, I'm doing it. I'm doing 1.5 million. Okay, cool. So maybe we can assume you have a base of $1 million and we have
Okay.
a $500,000, right? So the first thing when it comes to lead generation is we need to measure. We need to know the math because math is the path. And like how much leads do we need in this sliver of window of time in this part of the year? And like seasonality comes into this, for us, we
Sure.
were in the Midwest, so we had a revenue curve that was like dead. And it got crazy busy in May, June, July. Then it died. Then it got crazy busy in October, November. Then it died.
Okay.
If I have a $500,000 gap and my average ticket is $1,000, let's say I need 500 customers to
Sure.
close my gap, right? I can't count my old customers because they're part of my base, but I need 500 customers through proactive new efforts, through proactive marketing. I got to go get 500. If my sales say that I close one out of two people, well, then I need to get 1,000 leads. So then I close half of them, which is 500 people at an average ticket of $1,000, right? So as much as people hate math, you don't have to be a mathematician to succeed in business, but there's no avoiding the fact that 100% of high achievers know their numbers.
Yeah.
And all the people that are struggling don't know their numbers. That's just a reality. So you can live in that reality and make money, or you can just not do that. It's up to you. We still love you either way. Um,
Uh,
but now we know, okay, I need 1,000 leads, right? And we know that we have a revenue curve. So I don't need all 1,000 leads in 1 month. I need them throughout the year. And I don't need the same amount of leads in January that I need in June. I need like way more in June, right? You picking up what I'm
sure. Yeah.
throwing.
Yeah.
So it's like when you figure that out, let's just pretend that we're to the place now where we know that next week we need 20 leads. Now, these 20 leads are in addition to our base. So our phones ring in repeat business. People found us, they got referred. That's great. We need that. That's part of our million we're already going to make. But if I want to push the rock up the hill, I want to close the gap, I want to take back control, then I have to do something in addition to all that, something new to get 20 leads. When you figure out how to do this, I call that a money lever.
Okay.
If you can create even one single money lever, you could be wealthy. Okay, one. It can be challenging to nail the money lever, but I'll give you one example. Let's say that your money lever is uh, door hangers. How boring is that, right? So you drive around on a scooter with a backpack full of door hangers and you hang these little flyers on people's doors. Okay. Now you might go do that the first 5,000 times and really not make any money. And what people do is they tell themselves a lie. They
Yeah.
say, oh, door hangers don't work. The truth is no, you don't work. Like you suck really bad at this thing, and it's evident, right? And so what you got to do is you have to figure out like why didn't it work?
Sure.
Because it's not about Facebook ads or direct mail or Google. Like marketing is marketing. Like saying door hangers don't work is like saying marketing doesn't work. Or better than that, it's like saying talking to people about my stuff doesn't work. It's like, no, it does. You just suck at it. If you were like Billy Mays, remember him, the
Yeah.
OxyClean guy?
Oh, yeah.
Billy Mays would probably crush it door to door compared to you, right? Why? It's not about the door to door. It's about everything is marketing. Marketing is everything. It's about the core. It's about the nuance of how you did it. So let's say that you hired someone like me to help you. I would look at your door hanger and I would say, okay, this is horrible, right? We got like 8-point font. There's like a paragraph and a half about your grandma and the story of your company that no one cares about. And your logo is 25% of the front of the thing because you are emotionally connected to your logo, even though other people don't give a crap about it. So there's like all these things broken with it. Then I discover, okay, and you put all 5,000 in a neighborhood that's all vacation rentals, so the owners aren't even there. So the maid service that turns over the vacation rentals just took it off and threw it in the trash, right? So like you can see why it didn't work. The timing, the targeting, the offer, the nuance, the pattern interrupt. Look, I know that I'm saying a lot of stuff right now, but maybe this is a wake-up call for people. It's like if you want to have things other people can't have, you have to know things other people don't know.
Yeah.
And you may be a really good person that has a Jesus fish on your bumper, okay? That doesn't like give your business brownie points in the marketplace. It just doesn't.
Sure.
You have to understand how to talk to people, the timing. Who am I going after? What are the numbers of my door hanger thing? What does my money lever look like? You know, because the goal is eventually through iteration and trying it different ways and really hammering the nail all the way into the board. If you don't stop and you keep studying, what'll happen is you're going to learn that for every door hanger you pass out, it might cost you 40 cents in printing and labor to have someone do that. But it might generate you, like in my case, the money lever I had for my window cleaning business, we made $4.26 for every single postcard that we would send out. It only cost me like 50 cents, 40 cents, right?
Yeah.
That's
Let's
a
send as many as we can.
exactly. So if you could put $1 in and get $10 out, how many would you do? The answer is infinity of them. It's like as many as you can. Um, but it takes work to do it, you know?
So for a small business owner that's listening to this, that's looking at their business and they don't have the systems, right? Obviously they want to create those, but they've been doing the shotgun approach. They're the spray and pray. They're just kind of hoping something sticks on the wall. How do they get more systematic? How do they start to trial and error? How do they know, okay, I've got a very limited budget right now, and 5,000 door hangers is great, but I don't want to keep doing door hangers if that's not going to be my money lever. So how do they define out early on what is their money lever?
Well, usually if you're broke, you have time. And usually if you're killing it, you don't have that much time. So the first thing we have to decide is, do we want to use a time-based money lever or a money-based money lever? You know, sending
That's
things
a
like
great point.
doing direct mail, for example, that's like a luxury. What happens is people will accumulate some money and they feel it's almost like going to Vegas and pulling on a slot machine. And they'll like get all excited and they'll do this $10,000 direct mail campaign and just kind of hope for the best, right? Then they'll feel sorry for themselves when it doesn't work. Why is God punishing me? It's like, oh my God, so embarrassing. I have secondhand embarrassment on your behalf. Like it's like you're just terrible. You don't know what you're doing. You shouldn't have done that, right? If you don't have a bunch of money, don't play expensive games like direct mail. You don't need to.
Yeah,
You can build $1 million business just knocking on doors, just networking. You could build 10 strategic partnerships with 10 non-competitive other business owners that all feed you leads for some reason and make a fortune. I have a guy in one of our programs that does outdoor kitchens. That's what he does. He sells $20,000 outdoor kitchens. Really cool business. The guy makes a fortune. And I asked him, like, what are you doing for joint venture stuff? And he's like, what does that mean? Well, we started talking about it. That guy, if he has a relationship with like a swimming pool installation company,
sure,
that one relationship might make him $1 million a year because he's got a $20,000 average ticket. That's
sure.
not that, right? Like literally 50 people a year, one a week, and he's got 1 million in revenue through one channel. So the main problem for small businesses is that they spend almost 0% of their time thinking thoughts like what we're talking about right now. If I looked at their calendar, it would have zero time blocked out on, I call it brain money. Like do you have 4 hours a week on Monday carved out just to think thoughts about like how to grow your business, about how to market? Like the problem isn't systems either. You mentioned the word systems, you know, everybody listening to this already has a 100% systemized business and life right now. So people say you need systems. It's not really true, in my opinion. Everybody already has systems. Like the way you talk to your wife is a system. The way you, like, if you don't follow up with your leads, you have a zero touch follow up.
Yeah, you have a system. Yeah, it's just not working.
Yeah, so it's like you just have really bad, crappy systems because you haven't
Yeah,
put in the work, because you're lazy, because you're not doing it. And you think you get brownie points because you're a T-ball coach and you have a Jesus sticker on your bumper. Look, I love that you're a T-ball coach. I love Jesus too. We'd be friends if we were neighbors. But when it comes to making money, you got to be better. You got to understand things and you got to have dedicated time to use your brain. Uh, the reason this happens is because most people that start a company drag their employee mindset into their company
yeah, preach.
like an appendage. And so they're dragging it. And at the back of their mind, they actually believe someone else is really supposed to be responsible for them. And maybe in their corporate job, it was, the CEO of that company or whatever. Maybe in their business, they think that like God is supposed to do it. But I'll tell you a secret. Um, you can't do God's part, he won't do your part. Another quote I like is that God gives the birds all the food they'll ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest.
Yeah, I
Okay.
love that.
And so I'm sick of like the victim boohoo for me, Christian entrepreneurs. I'm sorry, I'll see myself out, Matthew. But it's like
No, you're preaching to the choir, man. This is fantastic.
we just have to time block and use our brain. I'm a
So
quote
so
machine.
so
We
let me,
make more money with our brain than we do with our back.
I was going to quote that. I've got that in. I've got my notebook here beside me from the conference that we were at jointly a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago now, when we're recording this. And I've got a couple of pages, and that's one of the quotes that I wrote down. And I actually integrated into my daily schedule more time for me to do just that, to sit and think and dream. I write and speak, and so I'm having time throughout the week, time blocks to do that. But I actually added in, based off of that one comment that you made, a specific time frame for me on Saturday morning. I have 3 hours, and all it is just dreaming. It's just, how can I sit and process and think about what does the future look like across all of my organizations, across this podcast, across books that I'm writing, all these things. How can I think some deeper thoughts and have some space to get outside of the business, outside of the day-to-day nuance, and dream about what could be? So within that time frame, advice for me, advice for somebody who's listening to this saying, hey, I want to kind of think better about my business. Any advice on specific questions to ask? Is there kind of a rubric that you go through or a systematic process that you do?
That's so good. Most adults forgot how to dream. Like you came out of your mama's womb knowing how to dream. Like you
Yeah.
don't have to teach kids how to think big. Okay. When you
Yeah.
ask like a 4-year-old, what do you want to be? Like an astronaut, surgeon, firefighter, you know?
Yeah.
And then society gradually beats that out of you. Like,
Yeah.
well, no, no, let's be realistic. They use these loaded, like negative words to try to walk back. Really, what is a set of infinity possibilities. And so then we start narrowing in like, nope, I'm supposed to do an accountant in a cubicle working a soul sucker 9,000 job for 40 years. And I better not do a bad job because everyone will be mad at me, right? Like schooling, even it like programs you to like memorize things and follow the rules. And when the bell goes off, it's like Pavlov's dog, you drool in the
Yeah.
right length.
Yeah.
Like the bell goes off, you sit at the cafeteria style food, right? In the locker. It's like prison, right? It's like child prison where they compliance train you. And that pulls into your career. And then the rules in your corporate woke career you worked at, like you pull all this crap into your business. And at some point during this process, you completely forgot who you even are.
Yeah.
You forgot that you're even allowed to dream. Most people don't even, I heard Alex Ramosi say, most people need to be reminded more than they need to be taught. And
Oh, I love that.
I think people need to be reminded of like who they are, whose they are. That they were handmade on purpose for a purpose. They're not a cosmic accident. You are not the result of lightning striking a puddle of primordial goo, and then you
Yeah.
eventually crawled out of the ocean, and now you're here to breed and then like die, and hopefully your 401k doesn't hit zero before you're dead. Like, right? We got to dream. So my advice to you on Saturdays is to start giving yourself permission to feel what it would feel like to level up your life. And yes, that includes material things. When we were poor and lived in the trailer, I don't know why I did this, but it was pretty wise. Almost every weekend, my wife and I would drive through open houses and we go to all these homes that we couldn't afford. And we would just like dream. We'd like wear our nice, how like when people are like super poor mindseted, like they kind of stand out, but like they put on their like nice shirt and they
Yeah.
think they stand out, but they're still kind of awkward because you're like, oh man, that guy's like trying to do it. We were
Sure.
like those embarrassing people trying to do it. And we go to these open houses and walk through homes that we couldn't afford. Why did we do that? Is it because we're evil? No, it's because we wanted to level up. We had a desire for more. Even the word desire, if you do an etymological study on the word, means from the king. The word desire actually means from the king. Okay. The desires of your heart, you didn't even put them there. Your desire to build the orphanage or to fund some kingdom project, your desire to like find the cure to something or build some library or build low income house, like I don't care what it is, like you probably didn't even put it there. And so we wanted, but my point is on Saturdays, it's like go to stores and look at clothes you wouldn't normally buy. Go, buy books that are more sophisticated than you typically read. Do 3D house virtual tours on your computer and like just start to step into that, right? Start to normalize your nervous system around what it feels like around these things that kind of break your identity, that pull you into that next level.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I have a lot to say. I might be slightly
No,
passionate.
this is fantastic. So is it, do you get into like the Think and Grow Rich, that you're the things that we're telling ourselves, right? I mean, 90% of our daily actions are subconscious. So are you intentionally retraining your subconscious to say, this is who I am as a person, this is who I am as a dad, as a husband, as a business leader, reading truths over yourself?
Yes, with an asterisk.
Okay. And
So
what is your asterisk there?
the asterisk is like, and I've done just a lot of study on this last couple of years. I'm like fascinated with it, but like the Neville Goddards and the Napoleon Hills of the world, like the Think and Grow Rich, the Dale Carnegies, How to Win Friends and Influence People. All of that stuff is true, but the reason there's an asterisk is like there's this weird new agey, like I'm my own God, I can manifest it, name it,
Yeah.
claim it thing that's like really associated with this type of stuff. But here's the reality. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. The Bible says to take captive every thought that exalts itself above the name of the Lord. What does that mean? What it means is we need to think about what we think about. And when you stub your toe and you call yourself an idiot in your brain, you're doing it wrong. Okay. Because logically, you're not an idiot, but you're calling God is called I am, the burning bush with Moses. I
Yeah.
am, I
Yeah, I
am.
am who I
We
am.
are made in the image of God, right? So we're like image bearers. Think of a disk image when you burn like a file onto a CD-ROM. There's like a disk image. Like we're an image of God. So we can't just use negative I am statements. We can, but there's consequences because the way God set up this, world, this simulation, the quantum mechanics and solar systems, and galaxies and amoebas and butterflies, it's insane, right? There's like mountains and alligators and hippos. What the heck? God made hippos. That's insane, right? The way he set up our brain is that yes, it's programmable. And this is important because a lot of Christians, they like avoid the whole topic of
Sure.
like what we say to ourselves matters, and
Sure.
they throw the baby out with the bathwater. What I'm talking about are, I don't know, we could call it, it's mechanical. So maybe we call it identity mechanics. Let's call it that.
Okay.
We can program ourselves on who we really are through the words that come out of our mouth, through the content that goes into our eyes and our ears because they behave as gates into our subconscious
Yeah.
mind. Babies are only born with two natural fears: the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. Everything else that gives you anxiety and makes you pull your car over the side of the road because you're too scared to quit your job or whatever. You've been praying about something for 9 years instead of taking one action to actually do it. Like all of that programming was installed in you by people that speak into your life, by society, by all these false beliefs. So yeah, we gotta change it. We gotta weed the garden of our mind. It's hard, it's messy, it's weird. There's a story of Gideon in the Bible, and he's hiding in the wine press because the Midianites are coming to kill him and
Yeah.
rape his family members and just horrible things. And so he's freaking out. And an angel of God appears to Gideon and says, "Gideon, mighty man of valor." And I heard a friend of mine named Eileen Wilder tell this story, and it broke my brain. Because here's the thing: Gideon was literally in the very act of being a coward. The angel showed up and called him according to what he actually was.
Yeah.
He didn't shame him. He didn't say,
Yeah.
You're so pathetic. Come on, pull yourself together, man. You're going to screw this up. Oh my God, Gideon, seriously? He didn't do it. He's like, Gideon, mighty man of valor. The point is that God, like, I think entrepreneurship is awesome in the sense that it's a personal development program with a compensation plan attached to it. like
I love
like
that.
it levels you up. It levels you up. You grow, you expand. It's so hard, but that's good. God's like clapping and cheering as we figure out who we were the whole time. And Gideon was a mighty man of valor right then. He just didn't know it. He didn't believe it. He was believing a lie. And I think that's powerful. Who's the alter ego? Is the alter ego Superman or Clark Kent?
That's a great point. Yeah, it's a great question.
It is the alter ego.
Yeah,
Superman's who he actually is.
yeah,
And so it is with you and with everybody listening to this. Um, this is deep, bro. You're going in the weeds, but
yeah. I love it, man. So for you, just to clarify, there are things that you're reading, call them I am statements, that you're actually intentionally taking time during your day to read those over yourself to help kind of reprogram your mind and to know this is specifically as a man of faith myself, just like you. I know who God's created me to be because I've studied his word and I continue to study and I continue to learn. But I read those things over myself because that way, when the world tells me something different, I say, nope, that's not it. That's not who I am. That may be who you think I am, but I know who I am. Are you specifically doing that?
yeah, when I woke up this morning, I'm laying in bed with my face smashed from the pillow, look like a wreck, right? Because I'm a human. And I will open my eyes to my alarm and I looked over and I said, I am safe, protected, and unafraid. I'm always in the right place at the right time because my footsteps are ordered by God. I'm so excited to step into my mission, my mandate, my purpose, my destiny. And I thank you, God, that you're going to do life with me today. Like literally, I say something to that effect. Do I
Yeah, I
read
love that.
it on paper? No. Is it magic? No. It's about actually believing it. You got to have some emotion around the words. There's something to that mechanical. Like you got to believe it. So like just saying words, like let's say you're just like I'm not in shape, I'm A shape. Okay, I got a dad bod over here.
Hey, round is a shape.
If I
At
go
least
in
that's
the
what I tell myself.
yeah, I have the body of a god, not a Roman god, of an Eastern European god. No. Or, I mean, an Eastern Asian god.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
little G. Don't get offended. Calm down, everybody. Um, so if I go stand naked in the bathroom mirror and look at myself and tell myself I'm jacked and ripped, it's just not true.
Sure.
Like that's just silly, right? So you got to tell yourself things that are true. I'm a person that cares about my health and fitness. Maybe that is how you say it. Don't say remember Stuart Smalley from Mad TV in like the 90s, but he's like, I'm good enough. I'm strong
Yeah,
enough.
yeah,
Gosh darn it, people like me. It doesn't have to be cheesy like that. I learned that I'm safe, protected, and unafraid from a guy named Taylor Welch, who's absolutely killing it on YouTube right now. He's got some interesting content. He's awesome. But I'm safe, protected, unafraid. I'm always in the right, like I'm agreeing with what God already said.
yeah. No, I love that. Okay, so let's take a step back for those that carried with us through the rabbit hole. I appreciate you doing that. So now let's go back to your five tenets, right? So you have leads coming in. We feel like we've gotten money levers. We've been able to define out. We've been able to do some testing. Okay, I don't have the monetary reasons or monetary ability, so I'm going to take some time and I'm going to invest my time in finding things. Or maybe I've got the cash available. I'm going to invest in some monetary things. So now you said the second one is lead nurturing. So talk us through that. I want to make sure we go through each of them because you said the last one is a game changer. But the lead nurturing piece,
Yeah.
what does that look like for you, a small business owner? For me, what does that look like? And what's some advice that we can level up in that specific area?
Well, we don't want to have one night stands with our customers. We want to have relationships with our customers, right?
Yeah. Sure.
But what
Yeah.
happens is we do business and then nothing. It's like we're just ghosting them.
Okay.
Or they, request and inquire about doing business. They say no, and then we just don't do anything with them. Like it's insane. I met a guy one time that had a $700,000 cleaning business, and he didn't have anything digitized. Like he had literally a filing cabinet with index cards. He had 20,000 customers
Wow.
on index cards. It's like a 22-year-old business. I could make it rain for that business. Like I could have bought that business for nothing, just put it in a computer and started talking to these people again and like
Yeah.
tripled the revenue
Yeah.
probably. Right? So nurture is about just talking. It's not about annoying them. It's not about constantly selling them. If the only time I ever talked to my wife was when I wanted to get lucky, we'd have a
Sure.
pretty awkward
Yeah.
relationship.
Sure.
She would not be a happy camper about that. I at least have to pretend like I just want to hear about her day. No, I'm just kidding. Um,
That's a
So
great point, though, and especially we have a lot of folks that are married to listen to this. That kind of relationship, right? That you're nurturing a relationship between two people. That they're your clients and you're the business owner or the business organization. You're nurturing that relationship between the two of them. So tell us, what does that look like? What advice would you have? Is that an email
nurture is like
campaign?
yeah, exactly. It's like email, text, phone calls, it's social media, it's getting them to follow your Facebook page. It's just keeping your name or your brand in front of them somehow. It could be a newsletter that you run once a month that has do-it-yourself tips or something. If you run a taco truck, maybe it's a text list where your Taco Tuesday text goes out. But
Okay.
maybe you send another text that's just like, hey, some community thing.
Okay.
We're giving tacos to the senior center because, we owe so much to our elders, right? So like it's just being engaged. It's being a good community member. It's just talking to people. Not everything's selling, not everything's pushing. It's just nurturing. Because here's the deal. Most people want to do business with you. Again, they forget who you are. They literally don't know who you are. If you have a service company, how many times have you gotten a job and they say, "Oh, well, my last guy did it for this much," and you're like, "Well, why didn't you call him?"
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember who he is, or it happens all the time because there's no nurture. Nurture doesn't exist. And what's cool about these five pieces is like if you improve these, you always make more money. If I took a business that had no nurture and then I did nurture, even poorly, I automatically make more money.
Yeah.
Is we don't think of it like that. Like we're basically just putting out fires and being very reactive, like blah, blah, ringing phone, change the oil in the truck, do this, blah blah blah. My employee stabbed me in the back. My employee stabbed me in the front.
But this gets into your point earlier about taking time, right? I mean, there's the old adage that gets beat over so many, especially solopreneurs and small business owners: work on your business, don't work in your business. And it makes me want to vomit because I'm like, okay, if work does not get done, right? If I'm the only employee, because I've been there. I've been one of the only employees. My brother and I, it was like, if we don't do the work, if we don't go hang the lights, we don't make money. We don't have money coming in. So how do we get beyond just that, right? How do we hire people? How do we get into, but taking time, scheduling time, blocking time is super important to be able to have these
Well,
kind of thoughts, have these kind of conversations.
here's a semi-hot take. Um, I don't think there's a person listening to this that couldn't make the same amount of money they make right now in 4 days a week instead of 5 days a week,
Yeah,
in 5 days a week instead of 6 days a week. People always say, a lady told me last week, she's like, I just wish there was an eighth day of the week. We hear this, right?
sure,
The truth is that if there was an eighth day of the week, nothing would change for people.
sure.
I think is it Moore's law or Parkinson's? I think it's Parkinson's law is that like all tasks expand to the time allotted them.
Yeah,
So it's like if you say I'm going to lose 10 pounds, maybe you will, maybe you won't. If you say I'm going to lose 10 pounds in 3 days, your likelihood goes up because of that constraint. There's like a time sensitive. So you have 7 days, and we kind of like spread out all the crap that we do across the 7 days. But if starting immediately after listening to this podcast, you just took Fridays and made it your strategic CEO, you know, brain money, money lever, everything is marketing, strategic planning, creativity day or something. Like you could just do that. And you could still make the same amount of money by shuffling things around the other ways. Like you could solve the problem, you could figure it out. And this unlocks a really important truth, which is like constraints create wealth.
yeah,
One of the problems of being a business owner is that we don't have a boss. Okay. This is a gift and a potential curse to you because you can do whatever you want. And even if you listen to this and you say, I'm going to create a time block. I mean, how boring is that? But they do it. Yeah, but are you really going to actually do it? Most
sure.
people, it'll just sit on their calendar. They'll go through it. They'll play on ESPN.com and then they just view it like an afternoon off, right? So there's a lot of nuance to like how we do this. But my point is like, I don't know. I have a lot of practical tips on how to deal with that, but I don't think we need more time. That's kind of my main point. We don't need more time. We need
It's-
more leverage during the time that we're already spending.
So give me one practical piece of advice on getting more leverage in the time that we're spending.
Well, a couple things. The first way to get leverage would be to like can we back up a second? This
Yeah,
will
sure.
help. So the real enemy when you're trying to grow your business is this I've coined an acronym called FOPO. Okay,
Okay.
because it's easier to remember. But your job isn't actually to like get more done or to become more motivated. It's to attack and defeat FOPO. FOPO stands for fear, overwhelm, procrastination, and overthinking. Okay. Fear, overwhelm, procrastination, and overthinking. Like this is actually the problem. What happens is you have a time block on Friday. I'm going to build systems, right? And then you don't do it. And then you'll shame yourself from Friday night until the next Friday, right? And getting even less done, right? And it's just a pointless loop. Like, don't
Sure.
shame is pointless. Like, there's no upside, there's no value. You're the righteousness in Christ. Like, just calm down, right? We got to understand why we feel the feelings we feel: fear, overwhelm, procrastination, overthinking, and like what the antidote to each of those is. And
Okay.
so I'll go one by one. Like
Yeah, yeah.
fear, because people mislabel the stuff that they feel. Most people don't even think about what they feel. They don't even think it. They just feel it and react like a robot, right? They have anxiety and they're mean to everybody and they don't even know what's happening. They're like sleepwalking through life, right?
Sure.
You start thinking about what you think about, taking thoughts captive. You start paying attention to your own nervous system. You'll start seeing how you sabotage your own ability to create wealth. It's very obvious when you start paying attention. So the way we overcome fear is through action. Like action defeats fear. Like the thing that you're scared of, we have to face it. So if you want that to wait 6 months, okay. If you want to wait 6 minutes, okay. But if you do it faster, you're going to go further, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're terrified of firing someone, do it now. Like do it now. Okay. Like that's the best advice I can give you is like, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now. Like take action. You don't even need to take perfect action. You could take action and it kind of backfires and it's bad and you still did it right. You
Yeah.
still did the correct thing. Like take action. So that will eliminate fear. Is action. The second thing is overwhelm. So if you just feel overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I'm drowning, there's 700 things to do. The way that you defeat overwhelm is through prioritization. And overwhelm and procrastination are kind of married. They're like, or at least cousins,
Okay.
because you actually can't prioritize things unless you know exactly what you want. Like, if you
Yeah,
don't know
that's a
what to
great point.
optimize for, how do you even know what goes first and what goes second, what goes
Sure.
third? Like, people don't even know what they want. Most people only know what they don't want. When I ask people, "What do you want?" They say, "Well, I don't want to let the Lord down." I'm like, "What does that even mean?" Like, no,
Yeah.
what do you want? And they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, I don't want to be in debt." It's like, no, that's what you don't want. I'm asking you, what do you want? And so, anyway, so the reason we procrastinate oftentimes is because we have a lack of desire. Now, this is controversial, but I'll prove it to you. Okay. People that just keep putting things off, first of all, they're doing well enough to be allowed to put things off.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of laziness slash golden handcuffs happening because some people don't have the luxury to procrastinate. If your electric is getting shut off at your home tomorrow morning, unless you pay $300, there's procrastination isn't like a thing,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So, so when you get to this comfort level that kind of matches your internal identity. Oh, I make $60,000 a year in personal income. In your subconscious, you're like, that's the kind of person I am. That's what's correct for me. And then your business, like you'll get there kind of quick and then you'll stay there for a decade. And you're living in this identity range of like, yeah, that's pretty much how it is. And you're still complaining. You're still joining business groups saying how much you want to grow, but you really don't want to. The
Yeah.
desire is really there. When I went on my honeymoon, bro, the desire was high, if you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
I didn't, when on my honeymoon, I didn't tell my wife, you know what? We're going to be married for like 50 years. It's fine.
Yeah.
We'll get there later.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
Let's
like,
wait.
heck no, right now. Right. So,
Yeah.
like, if you know what you want, why you want it, it makes your stomach hurt. Like, there's rocket fuel in you. If you know the desires that God put in you and you focus on them, it's harder to procrastinate and it's easier to prioritize. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does.
The last one is overthinking. And people that overthink, it's usually because they live in their own head. They don't have enough accountability in their life. They don't have enough constraints in their life.
Okay.
kind of like the weight loss thing. If I said I'm going to lose 10 pounds, I'd probably overthink. Do I do the keto diet? Do I do the Daniel fast? Do I do there's all these
Sure.
things, right? Well, what if I do that? What if the second Tuesday of the full moon of the inverted flux capacitor does it? It's just pointless, right? But if I went Facebook Live like I did 2 years ago, and I said, hey, what's up, Facebook? I'm going to lose 10 pounds by next week, or I'm going to light $1,000 of my cash on fire on Facebook Live. Hold me accountable. See you next week, right? Like if I did that, that's a constraint. Now I've limited my ability to overthink, and I will take action faster. And a couple of years ago, I actually did that. I went Facebook Live and I said, I'm going to weigh 199 pounds by August 6th. And if I don't, I'm going to give $25,000 to Joe Biden's reelection campaign.
Oh, I love that
And
so
my
much.
my, my wife probably was so mad. She goes, "Why are you the way that you are? What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm not going to go to the gym. I don't care. Like my
Yeah,
desire isn't high enough." So my hack was like create this artificial constraint that gave me literally no choice. I even had my son with me when I did it, and I had my online banking pulled up, and I like created I named one of my savings accounts the Joe Biden reelection fund.
sure.
I transferred money in there right in front of everybody. And then, I still did nothing until about 30 days before. And then I had to do very shameful things leading
Sure.
up in it, right? But it got done, right? And I posted that picture of the scale with the thing. I had two different scales. Like, so that's FOPO. It's like that's the real problem. Is like
Okay,
the
so
thing holding you back.
let's dig into that just a second more. So for you, Josh, when you're examining the desires of your heart, right? So let's talk about it from a faith-based man to a faith-based man, a believer in Jesus Christ. A lot of times, at least in the culture that I grew up in, there's a fear of greed and envy of more, and there's a fear that those things are not good desires. So squash that for me, but also for the listener, and help me
Hey,
understand.
give me an example.
So that if we make more money, if we have a nice car, if we have a nice house, that we are in some way that success that we're taking advantage of other people. And so I have a desire to be able to have a nicer car. Let's just say that it's not for me specifically. I'll give you one for me. I have a desire to have family land. That we want to create a family land place for generations that Everts will come to. That's the desire that I have for Hannah and I. I
Imagine a
believe
guy.
that I've
Well,
talked through that enough with Hannah and I that we can use it, but I'm a salesman, right? And I can put spins on about anything. And so I have this way that I say, this is going to be a good thing, but talk to me for you use me an example. It's totally fine. But how do we work through those desires that God's put into our heart and vet those that they're not of selfish desire, but they're actually true desires that God's put in our heart to be able to lean into some of these things that you've been saying.
are you ready?
Yes.
I have like this line of thinking. It's not only wrong, in my opinion, it's evil.
Okay.
It's selfish. It's rooted in envy, jealousy. It's rooted in optimizing your life for the opinions of man. It's fear of man. It's religious programming. And by the way, religion is evil. The Bible says true and undefiled religion is feeding widows and orphans,
Yeah.
right? Keeping yourself unpolluted from the world, right? Like the religious establishment is who crucified Jesus Christ. The Bible is not even a book about religion. Myron Golden says the Bible is a book about a king, a kingdom, and the colonization of a foreign land. You see, God creates gardens, not just the Garden of Eden, but everything that he created to grow and expand. There's no economic pie, there's an economic garden. And these are not the same idea. Like you winning doesn't mean someone loses. If you think that, you don't understand economics. It's
Yeah.
literally not how it works at
Yeah.
all. In fact, you winning makes more people win. That's how it works. I've heard a quote, you can count the number of apples on a tree, but you can't count the number of apples in a seed. Whatever's been placed in your hand, whether it's a business or a car or whatever, the question is, how do I grow and expand this thing? This is what the parable of the talents is all about. And what's crazy about the parable of the talents is The guy that like buried his, you realize that guy, you would think he'd be like, hey man, why didn't you at least get interest at the bank? Like, why'd you bury it?
Yeah.
Not cool,
You
bro.
wicked servant.
Yeah, he's like, cast him to outer darkness. He's
Yeah.
like the worst possible
Yeah.
extreme thing. He's like, and the guy didn't steal it. He just hid it. Okay.
Yeah.
God is serious about things growing and expanding. Okay. Let's just start there. The other thing is just to point out some logical fallacies here. Imagine that you're living in the 1400s and you have a three-legged donkey and your life is hard. Okay. Because you're already a pauper. You're not a landowner. You just like live on the edge of some guy's field. You do all the work and you barely get enough. And you sit around one morning and you're like, man, I would love to have a four-legged donkey. That would be so awesome. And then imagine another pauper walking up to you and calling you a selfish, greedy, evil person. Like that's what it sounds like to me when you say things like, well, we got the minivan. Do we need the SUV? Do we need almost nothing in your life do you need? If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the only things you technically need, Matthew, and your wife, mind you, is you need like food, water, shelter.
Yeah.
If you have anything above that, you're already playing in the whole game of extreme luck. Your life right now is complete decadence. You're in the top 1% of income earners in the world right now, even if you
Yeah.
don't make it next year. Do you realize that?
Yeah.
Half the people saying this stuff, they make 100,000 a year and they have a $100,000 car. They're more wasteful than Elon Musk could ever hope to be. When Bill Gates buys a $50 million house and he spends 1/10,000th of 1% of his net worth to buy that, he's less wasteful than you. Right. So like this whole thing is upside down. At the end of the day, money is a magnifier and it's an amplifier. That's what it is. The Bible also says that there is gold in the Garden of Eden, even though there's nothing to buy and nothing to sell. And God specifically called the gold good. Right. Abraham was rich. I love what Myron always teaches us. He's like, was Abraham rich? And people are like, yeah. He's like, no, he was very rich. Right. Because the Bible says very rich.
Yeah.
It's all about heart posture. It's all about walking with Holy Spirit and Jesus. It's not, maybe you're not supposed to be the next billionaire, but you are supposed to grow and expand the thing that's put in your hand. And if you have a business and you're playing small, you need to do a double heart check, right? Because are you going to appease the will of men who are jealous and full of envy? I had a pastor at one of my old churches bought a blue um, Ford Mustang. This is years ago. And the church was so weird because the pastor bought a blue Mustang. He ended up getting rid of it and he got a Jeep. But people are so stupid. They don't even understand that Jeeps cost more than Ford Mustangs. Okay?
It's ridiculous.
And that type of thinking is a joke. It's embarrassing. I have secondhand embarrassment on behalf of all Christians who think thoughts like that because of their own pride, their own envy, their own jealousy. This is dark. This is wicked stuff. Okay. You need to let me ask, I'll end it with this, my rant with this. Sometimes at workshops or when I see people, I'll ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how much health do you want your children to experience throughout their life? And they, of course, say 10. And I say, how much joy do you want them to experience in their life? And they'll say 10. I'll say, how much intellectual knowledge and wisdom do you want them to possess in their life? Oh, 10. Okay. How much money do you want them to have? And then they start talking fast and their palms get sweaty and they act weird. And they're like, well, I don't want them to make other people uncomfortable. I don't know, 6.2, like they fall off the train derails when we talk about money. That is religious programming. Jesus didn't come to start a religion, right? He came to start a relationship with you. Like you are the hand and feet of Christ. Like you are the temple of the Holy Spirit. You're supposed to go and colonize the foreign land with the love of Jesus Christ. You're supposed to multiply what's in your hand so that you have more leverage and impact. God is clapping and cheering for you as you succeed. When my daughter learns to ride a bike, I don't cuss her out and laugh at her when she falls off the bike. I say, get up, you got this. I love you. You got this. You can do it. I don't think I can, Dad. I know that you can. Do it. I'm going to help you. And then she does it, and I'm clapping. And the minute she succeeds, when she wants to take the training wheels off and get a better bike, do I call her greedy? What are we talking about?
Yeah. No, I love it, man. You're preaching to the choir. I appreciate you helping clarify that for our audience, right? Because we have so many folks that fall into that trap, and I appreciate you sharing that. So let's go back to the original five. So now we're on sales. We're on our sales process. What does that look like in terms of the five key components of a business? You get the sales piece. You said most business owners are pretty good at this. They would consider themselves a pretty good salesperson. What advice would you have to a small business owner that they are the key salesperson and kind of maybe growing outside of and actually having an external sales team? What advice would you have there?
This is such a big conversation. If we're talking to people that have like a local service company, which is kind of the example we were using in the
Yeah,
beginning,
sure.
in that environment, in my like most sales aren't even real sales. It's more order taking than
Okay.
sales. Like, people think they're selling, but all that's happening is people have dog pee on the carpet and they're like, "Hello, can I get my carpet cleaned?" And you're like, "It's this much." And they're like, "Okay." And they're like, "I'm a closer." It's like, "No, you're not a closer." Okay. My
You
advice
answer the
is,
phone.
well, it's just like transactional order taking type sales, but there's things you can do to make more money. Here's the main principle though, is we want to have good choreography in our customer experience. And that goes before the sale, during the pitch, and afterwards. Okay. So, like the way that we interact with people, the thickness of your literature matters. If you've ever been to a very expensive restaurant, their silverware is heavier. The napkin is like a piece of fine linen, it's
Yeah.
thick, right? So, like they have like everything about the ambiance is different. It's clearly different. Is the steak 10 times better than like Texas Roadhouse? No. But does it cost 10 times more? Yes. Why? Because of the choreography. So anyway, so choreography, then we need to cross-sell and upsell. We also need more expensive things to offer people. I don't care if you're a dentist or a chiropractor. It doesn't matter if you're the taco truck person I referenced earlier. Like if I own the taco truck, one of the first things I do is I created a $32 taco for sale. Not because most people are going to buy it, but because some people are going to buy it.
Yeah.
And it makes my $11 taco seem like a screaming deal. I'll have
Yeah.
a taco with little gold flakes on it or something. You get your picture to go on the wall if you buy the $32 taco, right? Like everything is marketing. Marketing is everything. And so by doing these things, your sales will improve, your average customer value will improve, and you'll make more money. And as long as you're following up and you're being friendly, and you have integrity, you don't need more than that. Yeah, I don't think you have to, overcome people's objections like and argue with them.
Sure.
The goal is to address their objections before they even say them to you. So they shouldn't be surprised that your price is expensive. If that happens and people are shocked, then you already fumbled the football in your process leading up to that. You should
Great
feel
point.
like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse from the first second they interact with you so that they get a price congruent with what that felt like. And so if people are always like, "Oh my gosh, that's way more than I thought," then we got to go back and fix that. And that's an indirect way to improve sales. Now, on the flip side, most small business owners, people are like, "Oh, really? That's it? That's great. Yeah, let's get it scheduled." It's like, raise your prices, hurry up. Like, so
Charge more and be worth it.
yeah, yeah. Then after that, after sales, we have delivery. We don't even need to talk about delivery really. It's just you doing the thing you do. If you're a hairdresser, you're probably great at it. You
Yeah.
might be broke, but you're probably really good at dressing hair. My mom was a hairdresser. That's a whole subculture of people. It's
Okay.
it's it's a whole thing. It's a whole world. Shout out to my hairdressers or people related to hairdressers. They're awesome. But anyway, so the delivery is probably fine. The only thing you want to think about is how can you exceed expectations and wow and delight people every time.
Okay.
Because do that, you get more referrals, you get more reviews, you get more tips, it's just better. You get more frequency. Like how can you give them a little more than they thought they were going to get and feel like you're the only one they did it for?
Yeah.
That's they did a study with servers at restaurants. So if a server gives you your bill at the end of your meal, and they give you like two mints, one for you and one for your wife, that doesn't affect your tip at all. The mints, like that little gift, it doesn't actually give you any brownie points because it feels like it's just part of the standard process. Okay, however, if the server gives you the bill with two mints, turns and leaves, stops, turns back around, reaches into the pouch, puts another handful of mints, gives you a little wink and walks away. Tip goes up by huge amounts. Why?
Okay.
Because an unexpected thing that felt like it was done just for me just happened. I was wowed and delighted. My expectations were exceeded. So it's very easy to do this in any business, little tiny things, but we got to think through the choreography of it, right? And then last but not least is ascension. How do we sell them the next thing or the more expensive thing or,
Yeah.
all that. So we kind of hit on it. It's like cross-selling, upselling. Most people that have let's say that you're the carpet cleaner guy and you sold the $300 carpet cleaning, and maybe you did tell the person when you signed them up, hey, just so you know, we also do, tile and grout cleaning. And they're like, yeah, I think we're good. And then that's it. Ascension is about making sure that customer knows about the glorious benefits of tile and grout cleaning, like multiple times, like forever. Like they should know forever. People should know all the stuff that you even have to offer. And how would they know if you didn't tell them? So it's about just constantly nurturing, keeping things in front of them, giving them different offers, following up, keeping notes. Hey, I noticed you're taking a picture of their dirty grout. It's just, if we do that, people buy more of our stuff at higher price points, which changes the economics, which makes marketing way easier on the front end.
I love that. Well, Josh, man, I'm taking up a ton of your time, and I appreciate you being so willing to and generous with it. Let me close with a couple of questions to kind of get your perspective on. I know the way in a lot of ways in conversations you and I've had specifically, but talk to the audience, talk to those that are listening. This idea of mentorship, the ability to go further faster with a good mentor, paying for coaching, cohorts, mastermind groups. Talk into the opportunity to be able to leverage that for a minute, please.
Well, I mean, Bill Belichick was probably the most famous NFL coach, I guess. It's arguable,
Sure.
but he's been to like 9 Super Bowls and won 6 of them. And did you know he never even played in the NFL? I think that's fascinating.
Wow.
Greatest coach ever. Phil Jackson, famous basketball coach. He did play in the NBA, but he didn't get any playing time. Like he wasn't the best player. Like there's certain people that are I don't know, because in the world of the internet, like the idea of business coaching is a dangerous, loaded word. You
Sure.
see people like Grant Cardone running around out there like an idiot. And I
Juiced out of your mind. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just not a fan. Now, I'm very aware of like how smart of a marketer he is. He's super talented. Don't get me wrong. The guy is no fool, but it's not genuinely helping people. I'll tell you what does help people. It's being in a community of like-minded people trying to achieve a similar goal. Think of the Tower of Babel. It's the negative example.
Yeah,
Like when
sure.
people come together, they have a fixed goal. God himself said, yo, nothing's going to be impossible for them. We gotta
Yeah. Confuse
pump
their
the brakes.
language.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna go ahead and delete this particular thing right now, right? But there's power in community. Jim Rohn says you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So do I believe in coaching? Obviously. I mean, Tiger Woods has a golf caddy. And the caddy of a pro golfer isn't the person that carries his clubs, it's his confidant and strategist.
Yeah.
A caddy gets a percentage of the money that Tiger wins. Why in the world would Tiger Woods need that when he's literally the best ever?
Yeah.
Because you can't see it from the same perspective, right? You need someone to look at it. I actually believe that all of our IQs drop about 100 points whenever we're working on our own business.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so much easier to solve someone else's problems, right?
It is, and God made it that way on purpose, by the way. Like
Yeah.
we are interdependent creatures. And I'm an introvert. I know I talked a lot on here, but like my dream day is like sitting in the woods reading books by myself.
Okay.
So, but I can't do that forever. Like we need each other. So if you're not in a coaching program, then you're going to go slower than if you were. Now there's good ones and bad ones, and it depends, and you got to be thoughtful about it. But like we believe in it. I believe everyone should have a mentor and be a mentor until you're dead.
Love that.
Because one of the best ways to learn is to teach. Like, and you might not have it all figured out, but you probably have a lot more figured out than someone who's 2 or 3 chapters behind you, right? You might only be doing 1 million in revenue, but man, you are like a lifesaver for someone doing 200,000 in revenue in your same industry.
Yeah.
Like you already have the battle scars to prove like you figured stuff out. So, you can make great money coaching. It's a good income thing. It's also important that you pay for coaching because it raises the stakes. It's not like you can't get good free advice, but it really doesn't work in the long run. People that pay attention. Um, and all the other little isms I said. I mean, it's a big deal. Don't be
I love
scared
it.
to do because you're investing in your own brain, your own belief, right? It's really hard to screw that up as long as you show up.
I love that. Yeah, what I encourage people is look at the three M's is what I call them: your mentor, your motivator, and your mentee. This idea of always having somebody a season in front of you, a season with you, and a season behind you to be able to navigate life with those that
Yeah, that's dope. I like that.
that helps you circumnavigates a lot of issues. All right, brother, let me close on this. If you could go back to younger Josh, if you go back 10 years ago, what's a piece of advice that you would give yourself?
It's gonna be okay. Have more fun as it all unfolds. Right.
Love that.
You're going you're gonna get your bachelor's in pain and your master's in suffering, but it's good. It's gonna be worth it. And just relax as it's happening.
I love that. So give us a pitch on how somebody gets connected to you. Please don't give us your cell phone number. It's not what I'm expecting, or even your email address. But how does somebody follow along with your content? You create a tremendous amount of content, or if they're actually interested in one-on-one coaching with some of your cohorts, some of your resources, how do they get connected to Josh?
Well, you can send me a handwritten letter with a quill pen, parchment paper. No, my company is called War Plan. I don't really do one-on-one coaching very much. It's really expensive, and I only do a few. That's not my core business. What we do is we have a software platform that helps facilitate people into these accountability groups.
Cool.
So you can either launch a coaching business, or you can, and we help you do that, to monetize your own expertise. Or if you need to be paired up with someone who's good, we do that. And you can go to warplan.com to learn more about that. I'm on YouTube. I have dozens of followers. I do make content. We just we have a heart for kingdom entrepreneurs. We want you to win, and it matters. I want to clap and cheer for you when you have the epiphany that everything's a garden, not a pie.
Yeah.
And growing and expanding not only is feeding into God's original design and intent, but it's actually creating more abundance for the people around you. That fires me up. So
I love it.
warplan.com or search my name on YouTube.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you, Josh. I appreciate you being here, brother. I appreciate the way that your hat says "Slay like David." So for those that are just listening, that are not watching, and we immediately connected on that. And I appreciate that you're seeking to live your life that way as a man after God's own heart, and I appreciate that a lot. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on Market Mavericks. We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Market Mavericks. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to take your own adventure to the next level. Don't forget to follow the show to keep up with our latest episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe, share it with others who could benefit. And hey, if you know a market maverick who has a story that needs to be heard, please drop their name in the comments. We would love to bring their insights to the show. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and leading with purpose.